The gaming industry is something that doesn't really surprise me that often because it's such just a ever-changing landscape, and I'm used to just weird stuff happening. But Xbox has surprised me twice over the last month. One with the shuttering of the studios like Tango, GameWorks, and all that stuff a few weeks ago. And the second one was this week when they released Hellblade 2, Senua Saga's Hellblade 2, on the 21st, just a few days ago. I mean, first of all, we've been waiting for this one for quite a while, ever since 2019 when it was released back on the Game Awards show, I think. And everybody was surprised by it because it looked magnificent. It was showing off Xbox's new hardware, all of that stuff. And then it just kind of disappeared for a little while like games do, and it came up recently, another little showcase thing, and then it vanished again. And I wish I could say that it popped back up in dramatic fashion before it was being released. That's not the case. This game, for some reason that I don't know, I'm not sure if we'll ever know, was kind of hidden up until release. There was no major marketing, there was no major advertisements for it. It just kind of sat on the back burner waiting to be released yesterday, the time of filming this video. And it's a game. I guess I could say that. It's a video game. There's some things I'm going to get into right away, but first of all, the game released on Game Pass on day one, which right now is a pretty common occurrence for Xbox. And like I said before, it has felt weird this whole lead up to it with the little marketing, and then one of the game's developers posted a message on Twitter that kind of seemed like a eulogy for the game. Enough about the weirdness of it all. Let's just get into it and what I like and what I don't like about the game. Now, the game is a visual masterpiece. The graphics are mind-bogglingly great. I mean, I played on my PC and had all of the settings completely maxed out, and much to my surprise, it ran very, very well. That was after I downloaded the most recent NVIDIA drivers. I was encountering massive stutters before that, so if that's an issue, download the drivers, see if that works, because I didn't do that and it worked for me. Other than that, it seems the optimization was very good, which is something that a lot of new games can't really relate to. But yes, this game is definitely a feast for your eyes. The character models are great. The motion capture was done brilliantly because, it feels like the people in the game are actually alive. I mean, you can feel the raw emotions during tense parts of the game, and it's a very immersive experience in that aspect. Sometimes it does feel a little cheesy or awkward, but it's few and far between, and it's only because the emotions are so made apparent because of the motion capture. Nothing crazy, it didn't really throw me off that much, but along with the beautiful graphics, the fight sequences are cinematic masterpieces as well. It's kind of like you're in a movie with the way they use their cameras to move around. And I mean, if you definitely love like very, cinematic pictures, movies, things like that, you're going to definitely enjoy this game. The only thing that I didn't enjoy was the letterboxing throughout the whole game, but you got used to it a little bit. But yeah, to each their own. This is where, in my opinion, the greatness stops. Let's just take a second and look for the game. The game costs $50 United States dollars. And for that price, you're only going to get roughly 7 to 9 hours of gameplay, depending on how much time you spend looking at the world and things like that. I mean, DLCs cost less than $50 usually, and they usually get the same amount of gameplay time, so the pricing is a little off to me. And for an Xbox exclusive, you would think they would put out something a little longer, but it seems a little weird to me. I know what you're going to say. You're going to grill me, but that's okay. We can just agree to disagree. You get a handful of hours of beautiful graphics. That's about it. I'm going to explain some things now that kind of irritate me about the game, and then you can make your own decisions on that, or if you play the game. And then let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Obviously, we're not going to share the same opinions, but I would like to know what you think about the game as well. While the graphics are amazing, the world that the game takes place in is definitely not. I understand the game takes place in Iceland, and there's really not a whole lot going on there, but the world in the game is empty and boring. It's like a beautiful empty and boring because of like the textures and graphics and stuff. The only analogy I can come up with is think like a desert. It looks pretty cool, but is devoid of pretty much anything interesting. That's the only way I can explain that. There's a few forest parts and cave parts in the game that are pretty neat, but still, they are kind of boring. Like the lighting and stuff is beautiful in it, but other than that, the world is not super interesting. And the story and pacing are just a completely different topic. I mean, this game was a slog to get through, which is confusing because it's less than 10 hours, but it was probably the longest 10 hours of my life. And it was actually less than that, but the point still stands. There's actually, a pretty interesting story that they're trying to get to, but it seems like the story was still rushed, even though the game is short, and they wanted to drag it out as long as possible. It's just so weird trying to explain this game. And if you've played it and you share the same opinions, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you probably think I'm crazy. But let's just explain. There's a part of the game where you're crawling through a cave and it enters kind of like a cutscene, but you're still moving the character as your voices talk to you. And I shit you not, it took like 5 minutes to crawl through this tiny cave that was like 5 feet long. And, you know, I'm not saying that you need to allow people to like speed walk or crawl in a game, but you can tell that they purposely made some of the parts of the game very painfully slow. I'm not sure if they did that to draw the game out longer or what, but it made parts of the game very boring, at least for me. Another thing that I was genuinely disappointed in was the combat. I mean, while the sequences are very cinematic and movie-like, the combat was actually very, very boring and very repetitive. I really enjoyed the camera work and such during the battles, but the battles themselves were all the same. I mean, there was only like 5 or 6 enemy models besides 2 or 3 like bosses, I guess they would be. It got to the point at the end of the game, I was just like dreading the battles because they were so repetitive and monotonous. And another thing about these games are like the puzzles. Right? Kind of the same boat with the puzzles. The game recycled the same puzzles. They used different patterns for some of them. And then some of like the pedestal puzzles were exactly the same. It was weird because it sits wrong with me because how short of a game it is. You would think that they would make the whole thing interesting throughout. And for me, a lot of the things that made Hellblade were just so incredibly dull and boring. And this is probably going to come off as kind of rude, but this game just feels honestly like an Icelandic walking simulator. I know that sounds really bad, but that's what it is. It's completely linear. There's no chance to explore anything, you know, in the world really. And even the offshoots that hold extra lore and stuff are just a few steps off the main path. I get that the series isn't meant to be open world, but this is probably the most linear game I have ever played. And there's really nothing to help out with the boringness and blandness of it all either. Like I said a little bit earlier, the story feels rushed, which is crazy because the game is so short already. But the last half of the game kind of just all melted together to me, and I was left unsatisfied and teased when I watched the credits roll. Hellblade 2 is a fantastic looking game, but for whatever reason, Ninja Theory and or Xbox decided to make it, you know, everything else about it boring. Before, I'd be like, well, you know, it was a swing and a miss, but with everything going on, you have to wonder if the studio isn't being looked at under a microscope now. I mean, the numbers on Steam aren't super high. That's probably because Game Pass has it too, so you can't really, you know, go off of that. But Tango just released a great game in Hi-Fi Rush and still got shuttered. This game is nowhere near as enjoyable as that one, so it'll be surprising to see what happens, you know, there. And there are going to be people out here who thoroughly enjoy this game, and that's fine. Everybody enjoys what they enjoy, right? But for a majority of people, this game, I feel they're going to have the same opinions or slightly different opinions than I, but the game is beautiful, but everything else about it is just not. And that sounds so bad to say, and I don't mean any disrespect for the creators or anything, but it just seems a little off. I wouldn't recommend buying this game for the cost. If you find it on sale, that's fine. Or if you have like a Game Pass subscription, go ahead, download it and play it. There's not going to be really much replay value. You do get some cool narrative features for New Game Plus, but other than that, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, if you love movie experiences, you'll definitely enjoy it. But like me, this was definitely really tough to sit through, and I definitely would not pick this one up again. And I'm just going to leave it there at that. I know the video's kind of short for a review, but there's honestly not much to pick through in this game because everything, I can't give away the story because it's already so short as it is. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I mean, the combat and everything is cut and dry. It's, you know, copy paste for the combat and for the puzzles. The world is beautiful. I mean, the graphics are beautiful, yeah, but the world is kind of bland and boring. It's just, you know, if I had to rate the game, I would give it a 6 out of 10. And I have no qualms giving it that. And the only thing that's giving it that high of a score is the graphics, the textures, things like that. I want to thank you guys for sitting through the video. I appreciate you guys' support. If you like the video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to share your opinions down in the comments, I am more than happy to read them and engage with you. If you guys want more content like this, don't hesitate to hit that little subscribe button. Click the notification bell to get notified when I upload more videos. It really does help the channel grow. And like always, we'll see you guys on the next one.